maybe. Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back today on a Wednesday of all days with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going, Bill?
Going well. I apologize for not being here yesterday, but I had a luncheon that I wanted to attend to start making some contacts within the local business and ag community. So that was my first effort at that. So
Nice.
I'll keep you informed if it goes anywhere. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's start out with Tesla is having an event tomorrow where they're going to give news on Optimus 3 and delivery numbers are expected. The reveal robot Optimus 3, the next generation humanoid robot, in late July or early August, which could provide significant stock momentum. Analysts predict Tesla stock could go parabolic if deliveries beat expectations and FSD approvals updates are positive. Musk expects FSD approval in around a dozen U.S. states by the end of the year. Nothing really earth-shattering there. Now, last week we were reporting on Elon Musk becoming the first trillionaire, then losing his status. So I thought I would show something today. Now, SpaceX stock has been bouncing up and down. The thing is, I've seen these things about all these shareholders losing their shirts on SpaceX, but the stock went live at 135 and it's trading at 160. So I mean, it's not.
So it went up, but if you bought it at the over 200 mark,
then you lost money. Yeah, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. This is the Forbes real time, and it's not moving around. So as of this morning, based on since the prior stock trading day, Elon Musk is only worth $995 billion. He's down 50, almost 50
Should we
billion
take up a
since
donation
1984.
for him?
Yes.
A GoFundMe page for Elon.
Yeah. Well, I thought this was kind of interesting because I really had no idea who the top five were. I assumed that Larry Ellison would be a top five, but no Larry Ellison. Larry Page from Google, number 2, Sergey Brin from Google, number 3, Jeff Bezos from Amazon, number 4, and Michael Dell at number 5, which I always find him surprising. He's really, he's been a billionaire for a long time, but Dell has really surged a lot with AI. They're really supplying a lot of servers and things like that. They've been a big deal with that. I had something. Oh, here it is. Biggest gainers, biggest losers in wealth. And this is really, I think, just the past day. Obviously, Musk was the top one, but it's like, here's the Walton family: Rob Walton, Jim Walton, Alice Walton. Alice Walton is also the wealthiest woman in the world. And I don't know who Chen Tianchi is, but he's not had a good day either. But biggest gainers, Zuckerberg. I don't know who Thomas Peterfly is. I know who Jeff Bezos is, but it's interesting to just kind of see some of this. Steve Ballmer used to be the number 2 guy at Microsoft.
Right, yeah.
And anyways, I thought this was just kind of interesting stuff.
Well, Zuckerberg just dwarfs all the others. What happened there? Is that dollar volume or percentage?
It was percentage, but he's up 18 billion. Well, actually, it's dollar volume. Dollar volume is number 1. Yeah, for everybody, it was biggest dollar volume gains. Not so much. The biggest changes I see is 9% to the positive, or about 6% to the negative. But what's interesting is the top 5. It also gives like top 5 for the U.S., but it's the same people. It's still the same top 5.
Yeah.
If we switch over to women, it's not all Americans. It's Alice Walton, who's an American, but then the lady from L'Oreal, the Koch family, and I don't know these others, but there are other countries. So only 2 are in the United States when we get to the women. But youngest was quite interesting. I thought that, so these are all 20, 20, 21, 22, 22. But of course, these people all inherited money.
Yeah, it had to be. Yeah, you're not going to earn that kind of money.
Yeah, but I thought that was just kind of interesting to share because obviously because Musk is, his wealth is now tied to Tesla and SpaceX. It's going to be bouncing like a ping pong ball. It's not like he really worries about it. It's not like if he lost $50 billion yesterday, it's not like he's worried about it.
He has a 400 square foot house or mini home that he lives in apparently in Texas, and supposedly has periodically shown up on his friend's doorstep, wanting to use their bed or their sofa,
Yeah, go figure.
I go figure. Yeah, that the ultimate in frugality.
Well, he's a minimalist.
Yeah, or he's a minimalist. Yeah.
Yeah, he just doesn't care to own a whole lot of things. Yeah, which is really quite fascinating for somebody who's truly wealthy. Because everybody always perceives that they have, the nicest of everything, and Musk doesn't care. He doesn't care about money.
Where is his 700-foot long yacht?
He doesn't need one. He's got Starship.
Well, what about his personal Boeing 747?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, he doesn't care about that stuff. Yeah, he thinks it's a waste.
That I admire. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not really trying to. He doesn't have to impress people. I mean, his achievements really kind of speak for themselves. And I always laugh when people try to say, "Oh, he's the dumbest billionaire I've ever met." It's like,
no,
really?
I would disagree with that.
I don't know.
He's lucky. He's smart and he's lucky.
Well, there's no question that luck plays a certain part of it. I mean, you have to come up with a unique idea, and you have to have the right timing. And there's so many things that are important to make something successful. I mean, I see great ideas all the time, but it's a matter of.
Yeah, I share them with you on a regular basis, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of great ideas. It's a matter of what somebody can actually do with those great ideas.
Yeah.
All right. Here's our first quandary of the day. Rivian's R2 production strategy, consolidating the scale. Rivian is overcoming its own internal range anxiety, its financial runway concerns, by canceling the costly Georgia plant expansion and consolidating R2 midsize EV assembly in an upgraded Normal, Illinois factory.
Yeah.
Cost reduction strategy includes structural gigacastings, simplified computing architecture, and strategic partnership with Volkswagen to achieve true manufacturing scale. They're expected to launch the spring of 26. The R2 starts at approximately 58,000, directly competing with Lucid's midsize vehicle of 50,000. Neither of them are trying to compete with each other. I always find it interesting when news is trying to pit Rivian versus Lucid.
They're two different kinds of vehicles. Now, when Lucid comes out with their off-road sort of SUV kind of thing, then but right, and I think they have some kind of an SUV in the works, don't they? Besides the Gravity, there's the Air, the Gravity, and I think there's a third one now that they're working on.
Yeah, it's just, they're not competing with each other. They're all trying to compete with Tesla. And it's always interesting. I find BYD's approach is different. It's like, we're not trying to compete with Tesla. We're trying to compete with Toyota.
And it's working.
And it's working, yeah.
Because Toyota sales were down again, I think something.
Oh, could be. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to see BYD thinks in the next 5 to 10 years they'll be the biggest car company on the planet, which at their current trajectory, it's likely, right? But we'll see. Lucid has news. Their ambitious path to profitability, they announced they expect positive cash flow by the late 2020s through expansion into mid-sized vehicles. The Cosmos is the one you were trying to think
Yeah,
of.
right. Yeah.
And robo-taxis. They previewed a two-seat robo-taxi, just like Tesla, and plans $1 billion in annual non-vehicle revenue from software subscriptions running $69 to $199 a month by the end of the decade. Despite ambitious plans, Lucid lost $2.7 billion on $1.35 billion revenue. So they did they
And it came and there it went.
yeah, 1.35 billion in revenue, and they lost twice that much.
Yeah.
Wow. Negative free cash flow of 3.8 billion. Investor skepticism remains high, with stock down 7.9% on announcement day. Once again, they're owned by the Saudi royal family.
Pretty
There's
much.
only a
Yeah.
little bit in the float.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Solid state nearing reality. Mercedes test vehicles powered by the Factorial Energy solid state battery drove over 745 miles last year. They're targeting commercial production by 27. SAIC and Dongfeng Motor planning mass production of solid state batteries in the second half of 26 with a range 400 watts hours per kilogram, 621 mile range, 1,000 kilometer range. Sodium ion batteries are gaining traction as a cheaper alternative, although they're still more expensive than LFP. They're currently $59 a kilowatt hour versus $52 a kilowatt hour, 59 versus 52. But Cattle is launching sodium ion EVs this year.
When I started seriously, began getting traction with people on EV World around 2010, in that time frame and things like that. We were, no, it's even earlier than that. We were what, $1,200 a kilowatt hour?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Now we're approaching just above $50 a kilowatt hour. Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that staggering? I mean, it's 95% reduction in.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. All right. So Cambridge breakthrough. Cambridge University discovered that steady mechanical compression can double pouch.
This is interesting. Yeah. This is
presenting a practical engineering challenge for EV manufacturers. This is a mechanical design solution rather than chemical innovation. Requires integration of constant pressure systems into battery pack architecture. So a friend of mine designed a cooling system that didn't use Freon, and I forget what the ingredients were. I mean, I looked at the thing, and he said that people had tried what he figured out, but it was also a situation where people were trying to solve the carbon footprint of like cooling. Because air conditioning has a really bad carbon footprint, right?
Yeah.
And he'd come up with a zero carbon footprint technology, but people who had tried to do things had relied on chemistry. And he said it was something similar to this. It was a mechanical compression and surface area that affected it.
Now, this only works with the pouch cells. This does not work with the cylindrical cells. But what they found is if you take and what they're suggesting, there's a way, it has to be done. It's a mechanical thing. Now, when mechanical, it said, well, you could have some kind of springs or something. But this is based on the fact that lithium cells, as they charge and discharge, there's always a little bit of expansion and contraction. And as that expansion and contraction happens over multiple cycles, the interior of the cell begins to break down. So what they found was if you take and keep that pressure constant at 12.5 bar or something like that, I was very precise. So if you can find a way to create a pressurized bubble around that cell, so that cell does not move far less. You can go from 1.5 to double the life expectancy of that cell with minimal, what's the word I'm looking for? With minimal, mechanical overhead or minimal cost overhead. I asked you specifically, well, what are the vampire loads or whatever on that? Do you have to have some kind of pressure, some kind of a pump, doing that? No, you just build basically a balloon around it that's very tight. You keep that pressure on it, and you can double the lifespan of that cell, which I think will be interesting. Now, can it be scaled off of the lab bench, at Cambridge University, or can it, we don't know. We still have to find out. But that's an interesting development.
Well, I don't actually have the SAF article on the list today, but this is one of the challenges with something like making, you were talking about, people always question the scalability of sustainable aviation fuel, right? But the truth is, you were talking about this guy who was talking about mainly using used cooking oil, but that is a way, but there's other ways.
At the moment, it is the primary way. Over 90% of all the SAF fuel is coming out of used cooking oil at the moment. And there's only so many restaurants that you can pull the oil from, and we're up in somewhere. I think I read 300 million gallons, which is huge amount. But the airline industry uses hundreds of billions of gallons a year.
Yeah, well, in the late 30s and early 1940s, Fischer and Tropsch in Germany figured out how to make aviation fuel out of wood chips and other synthetic means.
Exactly.
And that's how. So some of the projects I'm working on, we've looked at SAF as a possible output, but we're probably going to do renewable diesel just because there's more of a easy market for it.
Well, and here's news as of actually Friday. The original Inflation Reduction Act was specifically focused on making renewable jet fuel. And then when the current administration came in, that got expanded so that it now applies to basically any bio-based transportation fuel. So if you're talking biodiesel, the biodiesel could potentially, depending on its carbon intensity, could qualify for the 45Z status. And there's a California low carbon fuel standard and so on. So you can go that particular route, and it does apply to diesel fuels now.
Right.
If you want to sell it to trucking companies to drop into their process, or sell it to farmers to power their tractors, that now qualifies under the current revised version of the IRS code.
Yeah, and Owen, you're right, and there's a lot of moves to try to turn wastewater into how do you get biogas out of some of that. But the thing is, in the diesel space, so you have biodiesel and renewable diesel, and they're not a whole lot different, but it's significant
different process
in the value to the trucking companies, and the process is slightly different. But anyways, so there are obviously other things there. But
we might just, so people aren't. So renewable diesel is basically, as I understand it, that can be derived from several different. For example, you can take cow manure and convert it. The biodiesel generally is something that's based on like a soybean or a rapeseed oil, that kind of thing, that can then be made into that fuel. So, but what the government's looking for is, let's figure out a way to makes much more sense, and it makes greater credit than taking a food stock that is converted to biodiesel. It's much more sense to take the waste material, cow manure, biogas off of a sewage treatment plant, those kinds of things, and converting that then into the fuel. Because now you're taking a waste product that is also can be a contaminant, and now you're making that usable as a transportation fuel that can replace or reduce the amount of fossil fuels or biofuels that we want to make out of corn oil or whatever.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And you're right, Owen. I've heard of it done with chicken manure, pig manure, several different ones. There's quite a few processes there to use things that people didn't realize that you could get energy out of it.
Oh yeah. Well, they've been getting energy out of human waste and animal waste for generations.
Right.
Particularly the big drive in the developing nations to build in-ground community-built biodigesters, and then they take that gas off of that community-built biodigester thing, and then use that to run their little cooking stoves, so that they don't have to go off and make charcoal and cut down brush, and women have to travel miles and miles to with huge bundles of wood chips or things on their back or on their head.
So I got something interesting here. Nuclear energy renaissance, Q2 2026 developments. The Department of Energy awarded $2.7 billion to boost domestic uranium enrichment capabilities, but multiple states, and this one's kind of interesting. New Hampshire recently passed 2 nuclear bills. West Memphis, Arkansas mayor supports nuclear for $45 billion business growth. West Memphis, Arkansas is like one of the most violent cities in the United States. And I just they could use anything over there in that place. It is a really cheap place to buy gas if you're traveling. You don't want to go into Tennessee. People actually kind of try to skip Tennessee and go over to Arkansas because Arkansas fuel taxes are lower.
Right.
And so,
I used to do that when I lived back east. I'd come visit my parents here in Omaha. I would wait till I got over into Iowa before I refueled because it was always cheaper over in Iowa than it was here.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, in Missouri, Harrison, Missouri, typically has the cheapest gas in Missouri. And I never really quite figured out why that is. Is that the intersection of like Highway 7 that goes southeast and the Interstate 49, I think, that goes down to like Springfield or Joplin? Joplin, yeah. Joplin. Yeah. When it heads on down to Bentonville, Arkansas. Yeah. But
so is there a pipeline or storage facility nearby?
I've never.
Are they just playing funny with the pricing?
Probably just trying to get people off all the highways to just stop there.
Yeah.
Imagine being so lowly, people skipped you for Arkansas. Well, I lived in Memphis for 20 years, so it's really, Memphis is a violent city for a big city, but there's a couple of small cities in the United States that are extremely violent, and West Memphis, Arkansas, is worse than the big city.
Is that because of just unemployment or
just more concentration of poor people, I guess?
Yeah.
Well,
again, that comes back to what are the employment opportunities that for the people there. So,
I've seen some harsh realities of the pluses and minuses of desegregation. And one of the negative things that really happened when desegregation occurred in the South was you took the role models out of all Black communities and they all moved. They could all afford to move. And so what happened is all these businesses that were in those neighborhoods closed up and moved across town. And the people who were the positive role models all packed up and moved across town because they didn't want to live in those areas anymore.
Yeah.
And so it made those areas worse. And it's really sad that that's how that occurred. And, it's one of those things of where we took a big step forward and took a little step backwards.
Yeah.
In terms of way things are handled, and but you see this all the time. You'll see these great ideas that government will pass, and it'll end up having some weird negative consequence that wasn't really well thought out down the road. But a lot of times, without trying it, you'd never know, right? And I think
a good example is electric bikes and scooters.
Right.
Great idea. Now we're starting to see them everywhere, particularly in my area here. I see them all the time, and I see people adults using them that obviously they're doing that instead of a car, or maybe they can't afford a car, whatever the thing is. You're starting to see people complaining about it. Because
I see them all the time where I live, but my neighborhood's like a park. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the people are in the park area where there's
a nice area.
Maybe. I mean, I keep waiting for some of the kids to get attacked by coyotes or something. But, we have wild animals over here too. But I see them all the time here, and they're so quiet and everything. It's not like somebody on a motorbike or whatever, but they're not riding them on the roads. I'm still not seeing them on the roads. I mean, still, everybody around here drives a pickup truck. And it's like, it just no fun. I mean, the one really bad bicycling accident I had, I was hit by a pickup truck. Yeah. And, I still have, that was 40 years ago, 40 something years ago. And my ankles still click when I walk up and down stairs because somebody hit me. There was a drunk driver in a pickup truck in Florida. Yeah.
Well, my left leg is just slightly shorter than my right leg because I was hit by a car, but it was my fault. 12 years old, I decided I didn't need to stop for that stop sign.
Well, that wasn't my case. It was somebody just didn't see me.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's see what to go off. Oh, here we go. I got some BYD stats today. BYD sales recovery. They snapped its longest streak of sales declines in May of 26, despite weakening domestic demand and intensifying competition, with 4.6 million global sales. So currently BYD is number 5 globally in car sales. So that's pretty impressive. Cattle, or CATL, their batteries currently power 1 in 3 EVs globally. So I guess that would be, roughly 8% of all cars sold globally have cattle EV batteries. If you took that against all cars versus
all
just
cars, right?
EVs. Yeah. China overtook Japan as number 1 in global auto sales, and Canada reduced the Chinese EV import tax from 100% to 6%. Oh, here's something interesting. Last year, Thailand and Vietnam each broke 100,000 EV sales in 2025. Brazil expected double.
Thailand, they don't produce the indigenous car. Vietnam produces their own, but I suspect they're probably, besides the VinFast, there's probably some Chinese cars that are penetrating that market, I would guess. Thailand, I would assume, is all, Geely and BYD.
I assume so too. But I've seen where Toyota sells EVs over in that part of the world. They don't sell in the United States.
Yep.
So it always seems kind of weird. It's like you don't have a lot of selection for Toyota EVs in the U.S., but overseas.
I think I actually saw a BZ4 the other day here in Omaha. I think it was. I was trying to catch up to it, then I moved over into the far lane, and I didn't want to do anything stupid. So
their new one's just the BZ. So they were tired of people calling it the Busy Forks. Now it's just the Busy.
Just the BZ, right?
Yeah. All right. CPSC e-bike battery rules. U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission proposed sweeping rule making UL battery safety standards mandatory for e-bikes to reduce fire risks. Bill, you've been talking about this for a long time.
Yes.
How make sure you buy a quality bike that has a quality battery on it.
I just had that conversation this weekend with a gentleman. He said, "Oh, you're into EV bikes and things. I have a question for you. Which should I buy?" Well, there's like only a gazillion different companies out there that you could
Hmm.
buy a bike from. So I always told, look, make sure you get the best quality battery you can afford. UL listed, and better yet, if it's recommended by Consumer Reports or whatever, make sure you do that because that's the most important part. The bikes themselves, the frames and tires and brakes, those are, even the motors are pretty standard. It's the battery that really differentiates.
Yeah. Rules go beyond voluntary standards requiring tamper-resistant enclosures, overheat charging protections, and reverse polarity testing. Applies to complete bikes, replacement batteries, chargers, commercial fleets, and do-it-yourself conversion kits, heavily impacting low-cost imports that have been linked to residential fires. Um, you know what? We should show so Shell, which we think of as a gas company, right?
Yeah, this
Has
is interesting.
demonstrated
Yeah.
they're demonstrating immersion battery cooling technology in a concept EV, achieving 50% reduction in life cycle emissions through smaller batteries, faster charging, and efficiency first design with lightweight body and aerodynamics. So, is it cooling the battery so it'll charge faster?
I think that's what it's doing. Yeah, I'm still a little hazy on what it is they're doing there, but of course the surprise is it's coming from a you know
A
oil
gas?
company from Royal Dutch Shell. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not a bad looking car.
Yeah. I'm wondering who actually makes that car.
Oh, they could, you could go to Magna or there are any number of contractors out there that you can give them a blueprint and they'll take and whip you out in a car in 6 months or less.
Yeah.
And nothing says that car actually works. We understand that, right?
Right.
It's one thing to build a nice, pretty shell. Oh, isn't that cool? It's another thing to actually have the system on board to make it work. So when they run that thing around the Nürburgring ring in Germany, I'll get interested, really excited. But hey, Shell, all right, guys.
Yeah. It probably has no motor, no battery in it, so you can push it around real easily.
Exactly. So yeah,
It's more of a Flintstones car.
it could possibly be get in and pedal.
Yeah. Just run across the ground. Um, yeah, let's see
But still,
here.
good on you, Shell. You're doing something positive there. We're if you can get that system to where hey, combine that with the other technology we're just talking about, where you pressurize the batteries and then you have that cooling system in there. Wow, what's that do? Now you got 4 times the life of the battery.
Mhm. All right, what is this? You had an article about EV myths. Or let's see. What was this? EV myths muddy the road to electrification. EV sales are surging worldwide, but myths about battery fires, road
Yeah, it's
damage, and
typical.
unethical mineral sourcing. Bill, we haven't had an article about an EV fire in like a year. We used to have, we've been doing this show together for 3 years now. And this month, in 9 days, will have been 3 years. Okay. And in the
Really?
first 2 years,
Wow.
we had stuff about EV fires all the time. I
Right.
haven't heard anything about an EV fire, maybe a battery plant being on fire or something like
Yeah.
that. But, we had this situation with a
Well,
couple of
yeah,
ships.
you see a lot. I've seen a lot more regarding fires of in Chinese EVs
Mhm.
than I've seen on US. Of late, the problem, of course, has been the cars zooming off on their own and crashing into houses and killing 76-year-old women standing in their living room kinds of things. So. But that being said, my wife and I watched an uplifting movie called let's see, what is it? Song Sung Blue, and it's about this couple that are musical impersonators. Where you get off and he become I think he's Neil Diamond and she plays Betsy Klein or
Mhm.
something like that, and they form this little group together and she's out trying to plant these roses in front of her house. They have gotten married. He has kids. She has kids. They've gotten married. Their career is growing, and she's planting roses in the front of the house. Some guy driving a car goes off the road and runs into her, and she ends up losing one of her legs. And of course, there's all the trauma with that, and the problems with the. I don't want to give away the thing. Bill, be quiet. But anyway, goes. But there are two cases, whether it's true or not, I don't know, supposedly based on a true story. Twice, guys drove off the road and hit her house. First time they hit her, second time, and this is probably for dramatic effect, she was in the same spot. She moved out of the way, and just as she moved out of the way, the car hit her house again. So it's not just Toyotas or not just Teslas that run off the road and hit people. Other cars do too.
For some reason, my parents, when I was a kid, we lived in northern Florida, would like to go up to like Montgomery, Alabama, or some other places to go shopping. And we would, I remember on the way back, there was always this one curve, and there was a house right in the curve. And they had to put extra barriers and everything because apparently the house had been hit a few times by people just gone right on through and didn't turn.
We've had a couple of those happen here in the last couple of months here in Omaha, where guys went off the road and smashed into people. I don't think anyone was hurt, fortunately, but they did a heck of a lot of damage to the house. Yeah.
Most of the roads here are so straight, you could probably take a nap. And we don't have a lot of curving roads here in Nebraska. We don't have a lot of changes in elevation.
The only places they curve of any significant nature is when they are adjusting the north-south longitude of the highway. So because the earth is curved, right? Despite what a friend of mine thinks. But anyway, the earth curves. So because it curves, when you're drawing a highway on a north-south circuit, you have to periodically adjust that direction. So there's an S-curve, to account for the change in the curvature of the earth. So as you're driving here in Nebraska and you're going north and south, you will quite often have to do a curve either to the left or to the right, and that's just simply to keep the road within the presumed latitude or longitude that the road is at. So that's a little diversion. Sorry.
Okay.
Hey, can I talk about one thing before we get off the air?
Yeah.
Do you know what a linear generator is?
I saw on the site, but I'm not familiar with the concept.
Okay, well, you're into sort of looking at different kinds of off-grid generators and AI powers. So there is this technology, apparently it's been around for a while, called a linear generator. And what it does is it's basically two pistons, right, that expand and contract and expand and contract. And as they move, there's the diagram. As that piston moves, there's a coil system. Instead of spinning like you would have in a regular electric motor or generator, they move back and forth, and that move back and forth actually generates power. What sets this apart is it doesn't burn the fuel. There's no ignition. What happens is the fuel that they use, which is typically a gaseous fuel like propane, renewable biogas, things like that, has this property that when it's injected into a system like this, it expands. And as it expands, that drives that piston. And then at the end, on the right-hand side of that diagram, it says exhaust, which I don't think is exactly correct in this diagram. But anyway, there is a air spring. I don't understand it, but apparently there's a way that you're compressing that, and then that air spring pushes it back. So this thing operates at a temperature, instead of several thousand degrees like a diesel engine, it operates at 600 to 700 degrees. Just by simply that gas expanding. So it's fascinating, and they're looking at the what's his name, Vin Khosla is the guy that, and apparently Gates is also invested in this, and they're looking at this as a way to take and provide the supplemental power that your AI data centers could use instead of having to wait on gas turbines and all those issues. So it has very low emissions, low noise, and it looks like a promising technology.
Yeah, it's certainly something worth trying to understand.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit better.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I love my job, boy. I get to look at all this cool stuff.
Its levelized cost of energy is somewhere between 9 and 14 cents per kilowatt hour,
Yep.
which is lower than diesel, but higher than pretty much any other source of energy. But even when I look at SMR nuclear is in that 7 to 9 cent range. So that's, it's funny. The advantage that a lot of people don't, when people think about nuclear being everything and end all be all, they forget about transmission costs.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't understand that. But when we start talking about an SMR nuclear reactor, the idea is to skip transmission costs and put it right beside where the energy is going to be used.
Right there, right.
There, we're servicing one major client and not servicing you could service a community, but in the community, you're still going to lose energy as heat as it's transmitted around the community, right?
Yeah.
Just not a lot if it's close enough. But anyways, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I would check it out. It looks like it's a promising way to provide interim power, when you need it, and avoid all those transmission issues. And of course, they're probably, there is much opposition now developing to data centers as there has been historically to wind turbines and to solar arrays. So, this is a much smaller scale, and you could probably, maybe contract with local farmers to provide you with the biogas to make the thing run.
Well, you got two issues though when you put it in a data center. Well, maybe three. So one, you have to have energy. Two, you have to have water to cool it off.
Yep.
And the third is it makes a lot of noise. Okay. So you have to address all three of those in a way that's satisfactory to the community, right?
Yep.
And in my mind, I would think that the water they use would be gray water. Okay. But
yep.
I don't know exactly how you work that so that you get gray water sent to the data center. I'm sure that's what the concept is. I'm sure they're not just taking.
Well, you take the gray water and you take and convert that into some type of into a biogas, and then you can pump that biogas to the facility. Ironic. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm just thinking of when you're using water for cooling. There's got to be other options than just using your community's water supply.
Right. Exactly. Well, I see I see you're using the wastewater also for cooling. So, yeah. Interesting.
I mean, that would be my thought, but that's not what we do here. I'm pretty sure that's not what we do here in Nebraska.
No, we're steadily draining the aquifer is what we're doing here in Nebraska. So
but lots of states are passing laws that you have to bring your own power now. So if you're going to have a data center, you're going to have to create your own electrical generation to do that. And but then you're also, it's like I was telling you, that one data center that's going in Virginia is expected to increase the carbon footprint of the grid in Virginia by 35%.
Because they've got, of course, a lot of that I'm sure is probably coal generated. They don't have a lot. I mean, I've lived there. They don't have a lot in the way of hydro. So I'm guessing a lot of that is just simply fossil fuel based.
Oh yeah, it's all going to be LNG. That's for most of these places to get the path to energy now is LNG. everybody's trying to find other solutions, and every type of energy they're willing to take it, but the only one that's readily available to grow quickly is LNG, and that's what they're all doing because they want to be able to get to market real quick. That's why, like the projects I'm looking at for nuclear, we're looking at waste to energy as our pathway, but as the waste to energy plant is built, we may do a little bit of propane or LNG because the waste to energy plants are going to use the same turbines.
Yeah.
They're going
Hey,
to
take a look. Have you and your team take a look at these linear generators. They look like an interesting possible solution, interim solution at least, until we get, affordable SMR.
Yep, which is going to be a while.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right, folks. Thanks for watching. I should be back with Mike this Friday. Mike had something come up last Friday, so we didn't do a show.
Yeah, he's like here pretty soon. I think he's destined to go to Guyana. I believe he's got some kind of an event that lecture he's going to be giving down there. So
nice.
Yeah, it's interesting time for us. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks for watching, folks. Have a great day.